Now I just wanted to do one more thing, because we can't get away, can we, without talking about the recent window which closed. And it's been a topic that, you and I tend to kind of studiously avoid unless there's a proper story to talk about. And God knows there hasn't been a proper story. The one that has been, that we have come back to repeatedly, is the contracts thing. So I just want to mention for one last time, and my promise to you is that we'll never mention this again on the show between now and the summer, because really there is no point. And now there's no point in talking about players or transfers either, which is kind of a relief if we weren't going to be doing anything. So just on it for a last time, I know I had myself convinced that what the club were going to do was maybe announce the Virgil deal on deadline day, or maybe the Mo one, or maybe both. And there are all these rumblings from various places that, those deals are done. And if you meet a certain lad on a certain back street or a certain cab driver, he'll tell you, it's done. That's in the bag. Don't worry about it. It's done. I'm sure you've met these guys. I speak to them on the regular, and there are, certain social media outlets out there saying the same thing. But look, between you and I, we all know what social media is about, and it's about interaction. It's about look at me and eyes on me. And I don't think anyone actually knows anything, or if they did, you'd imagine something would be announced. So I have a theory for you. I'm going to throw it out there just to get your take on all of this. Some people are saying that perhaps because the Trent thing is ongoing and likely possibly to end in a move, or certainly the closest to ending in a move, that the club are, and here's that horrible phrase, keeping their powder dry. There was a lad I used to work with who used that phrase. And the reason he used that phrase was, in his young days, he was a fearsome man. But by the time he had gotten towards retirement, he was a gentle fella, and he didn't like the fight anymore, Jan. So anytime I was getting a bit kind of antsy and saying, I'm going to fucking... he would say, hey, Trev, keep your powder dry. So I associate that phrase, I'll be honest with you, with sort of fear and wariness of taking a risk, as opposed to a positive thing. What do you think about that? That they're worried about the funds that might be needed if we have to replace Trent, and it'll take a certain amount of extra funds if we have to replace that particular player. Is there anything in that, Jan? Why couldn't they have given us at least one thing to hang on to in this window?
Yeah, and obviously the theory about one, maybe even two of the lads have signed, and they don't want to make it. I mean, that was aired at Anfield. One of the January, I can't remember which one, but it was aired. It might have been a Lille game when we were talking about it, and some of the journalists said, "Well, what do you make of this?" And I said, "Well, I need some of the more reliable journalists to be able to tell me that might be the case, isn't it?" But it is remarkable how quiet it is. I was with John Aldridge the other day, and we were just talking about, if you're in the dressing room, and okay, it wasn't a big thing in our day being out of contract, but obviously this is a big thing, isn't it? Now, surely the lads must, who's the jokers in our dressing room? Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott, whatever. You can imagine them coming in every morning and must go, Virgil, have you signed that contract yet? I mean, there must be something. There must be some interaction between the players where somebody goes, or you're having a quiet beer. I know they don't, but they'll have a quiet beer every now and again together, where you go, come on, big man, you must have signed that contract, and they give you a wink or a nod in it. And that's what I find so amazing, is that, and that would have gone out, wouldn't it? That would have got out somewhere. So I find that absolutely amazing. But then somebody else who was in the conversation said, Jan, he said, it's totally different now, because they're almost like all their own brands. It's like we all sort of played for Liverpool Football Club, and that was the brand. But now today, all the players are themselves who come together and play a team sport. He said, so what they actually talk about is totally different to what you used to talk about in the dressing room. So maybe there isn't any. But yeah, I was a bit like, I mean, on the 31st of January, it wasn't only sorry, it wasn't the 31st of January, was it, Trev? It was the 3rd of February when the window closed. And I did sort of sit there and think, the wife said, I said, nothing's going to happen. I know Liverpool won't do anything, but I was still expecting that kind of, here we go. Here's a little bit, isn't it? So I really don't know what, Trevor. It's during the week, I don't have a problem with it. But I know that when I attend Liverpool matches, you get 1 million people going in, and some people are starting to freak out, because obviously it's not. Probably are relying on Virgil and Mo is still very evident, isn't it? So of course people are going to freak more and more.
Yeah, look, I will never blame them because, in recent years I've allowed myself to get into this transfer stuff, having kept it at bay for decades, and it can become all consuming if you let it. Thankfully, I'm too old to be bothered by the likes of that. When I finish a show, but other people, they live it, Jan, and for some people, I think it's almost as important as the games. It's wild.